If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, you've probably noticed something very peculiar. One minute, everything seems fine, and the next they're starting a fight out of nowhere. And somehow, by the end of the argument, you're the one who is blamed for everything. It's frustrating, confusing, and often feels like you're stuck in a cycle that you can't break free from. Why do narcissists do this? Why do they pick fights, only to turn around and blame you for things that were never your fault? In this video, we're going to dive into the psychology behind why narcissists often pick fights, and then shift the blame onto their partners. Understanding this behavior will not only help you navigate your interactions with narcissists more effectively, but it will also give you the power to regain control over the situation. Stay tuned as we explore how this behavior is tied to the narcissist's need for control, validation, and their inability to take responsibility for their actions. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of why narcissists behave this way, and how you can protect yourself from their toxic patterns. Before we dive into the real reasons behind why narcissists pick fights and blame you, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share it with anyone who might be going through the same thing. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We talk about everything related to narcissism, toxic relationships, and how to take your power back. Now let's explore why narcissists act the way they do. Reason 1: Narcissists thrive on control. One of the primary reasons narcissists frequently pick fights in their relationships is their intense need for control. Narcissists have an overwhelming desire to maintain power and dominance over others, particularly in their relationships. They will go to great lengths to ensure that they are always the ones in charge, both in the dynamics of the relationship and in how conversations or situations unfold. Starting an argument or conflict is one of the ways they assert this control. Through creating tension and chaos, they ensure that the focus remains on them, and more importantly, that they are the ones who are calling the shots. When a fight breaks out, it gives the narcissist an opportunity to manipulate the situation to their advantage, often steering the conversation in a direction that works in their favor. This usually means making you feel guilty, defensive, or completely confused about what is happening. By making you the focal point of the problem, they ensure that they maintain control of the narrative, and by extension the relationship itself. This craving for control stems from deep-seated insecurities and a profound fear of losing their position of dominance. Narcissists rely on a false sense of superiority to feel good about themselves, and any loss of control, even momentarily, challenges that sense of power. For them, allowing you to have control in any form is not just uncomfortable. It feels like a direct threat to their fragile ego and their carefully constructed image of being above everyone else. So when a conflict arises, the narcissist uses the opportunity to reassert themselves, not only by steering the argument in their favor, but also by causing you to question your own perceptions of reality. They might employ tactics like gaslighting, manipulation, and blame shifting to make you doubt your own thoughts and feelings, which helps them maintain a tight grip on the relationship. In essence, the argument becomes less about resolving a disagreement and more about ensuring that they regain control of the situation and reaffirm their dominance. Reason 2: They cannot tolerate criticism. Narcissists have incredibly fragile egos. While they may come across as supremely confident or even arrogant on the outside, the reality is that they often feel deeply inadequate and insecure beneath the surface. This internal insecurity makes them extremely sensitive to any form of criticism or confrontation. When you try to address something that bothers you or confront them about their behavior, the narcissist is likely to perceive it as a personal attack on their character, even if that's not your intention. To them, any form of criticism or negative feedback feels like a direct assault on their perfect image, and they simply cannot tolerate it. This vulnerability is what drives many of their destructive behaviors in relationships, including their tendency to pick fights. Rather than accepting responsibility for their actions or acknowledging their faults, they will deflect and defuse the situation, by turning it into an argument. They will often twist the narrative to make you feel like you are the one at fault, rather than ever admitting to any imperfection or wrongdoing on their part. Blaming you for the problem allows the narcissist to avoid the harsh reality that they are not flawless and perfect, as they want others to believe. It also helps them sidestep the emotional discomfort of confronting their own shortcomings and insecurities. Instead of taking a hard look at their own behavior and the impact it has on others, they will shift the focus to you, deflecting any potential blame away from themselves. This enables them to maintain their carefully constructed image of perfection and avoid the painful process of self-reflection. In a way, the narcissist is protecting their fragile sense of self by forcing you to carry the burden of guilt, even when you are not the one at fault. This tactic ensures that they don't have to deal with the emotional pain that would come from acknowledging their flaws or taking responsibility for their actions. For the narcissist, it's far easier to manipulate and control the situation in their favor than to face the uncomfortable truth that they, too, are flawed human beings. Reason 3, they get narcissistic supply from chaos. Narcissists have a deep-seated addiction to narcissistic supply, which refers to the attention, admiration, and validation they continuously crave to feed their fragile egos. This supply is essential for their sense of self-worth and emotional survival. One of the ways they secure this supply is by initiating conflict or chaos. When they start a fight, they know it will provoke an emotional response from you. Whether the response is anger, frustration, sadness, or even guilt, it doesn't matter to them because these reactions are precisely what they need. In fact, narcissists thrive on the emotional energy they extract from others, and your upset becomes their fuel. They are like emotional vampires, siphoning off your emotional turmoil to boost their own sense of power and self-esteem. The chaos they create, coupled with their ability to blame you for it, enables them to experience a distorted sense of control. It's a way for them to reaffirm their importance by making you emotionally reactive, ensuring that they have your attention, whether it's positive or negative. The more upset you become, the more they feel validated. Even if the attention they receive is negative, such as anger or frustration, it's still attention, and for them, that's all that matters. This is why you may find yourself constantly walking on eggshells or bending over backward to appease them. No matter what you do, they crave any emotional reaction you give them. Your upset, no matter how justified, serves to confirm their existence and feed their insatiable need for narcissistic supply. In essence, the emotional turbulence they create is just another tool they use to fuel their ego, making you a source of their energy and attention. Reason 4, they want to keep you on the defensive. Another reason narcissists engage in constant arguments and blame shifting is that they want to keep you in a perpetual state of defensiveness. When a narcissist starts a fight and then shifts the blame to you, their goal is not just to win the argument, but to create a dynamic where you are always the one trying to justify your actions. The more you find yourself defending yourself, the less you are able to focus on their toxic behavior. This technique is one of their most effective tools for deflecting attention from their own faults and flaws. By putting the focus on you, the narcissist ensures that you are constantly in a reactive state, scrambling to explain yourself, while they avoid confronting the real issues at hand. This tactic is meant to disorient you, to confuse you into questioning your own perception of events, and to prevent you from having any space or time to reflect on their behavior. When you're busy trying to defend yourself or explain your actions, it keeps you emotionally engaged and distracted from the narcissist's faults. It also prevents you from taking a step back and considering how they have wronged you or contributed to the conflict. The narcissist knows that by keeping you on the defensive, they not only maintain control over the conversation, but also ensure that the focus remains on you, rather than on them. This shift in focus is a subtle but powerful way to undermine your sense of reality, keeping you emotionally invested in justifying yourself, while they get away with manipulating the situation. The longer they can keep you in this loop of defensiveness, the less likely you are to take a step back and see the bigger picture of their manipulative and toxic behavior. Reason 5. They lack empathy and emotional responsibility. A severe lack of empathy is at the heart of narcissism and is one of the main traits of this personality disorder. Narcissists are incapable of truly understanding, connecting with, or feeling for the emotions of others. This lack of emotional insight means that when they pick fights or engage in blame shifting, they do so without any real knowledge of the emotional pain they are inflicting. Their behavior is driven by their own needs and desires, without thought for how their actions affect you. For them, relationships are not about mutual understanding or support, but about transactions, what they can gain from you in terms of respect, admiration, and validation. If manipulating or blaming you helps them achieve these goals, they will do so without hesitation or regret. Because narcissists lack empathy, they are also unable to experience the emotional duty that most people naturally feel. Emotional responsibility refers to the knowledge and understanding of how one's actions impact others, as well as the ability to take ownership of one's behavior. Narcissists, however, don't have this ability. They don't care about the emotional aftermath of their actions because their attention is always on themselves. The hurt and pain they cause others are unimportant to them, as long as they continue to get what they want. When they blame you for something that isn't your fault, it's not because they think you deserve the blame. It's because they don't care enough to consider the consequences of their behavior on your mental well-being. To them, your feelings are secondary to their need for control, approval, and power. They are able to disregard the emotional fallout from their actions without a second thought, while you are left to clean up the mess they've made. The thing that makes narcissistic relationships so tiring and harmful is that the other person doesn't care about or understand how you feel. People who are narcissists don't own up to their mistakes and will never admit that they caused the problem. Instead, they put the blame on you, making you feel like you were to blame for things that were not your fault. This constant shifting keeps them from having to deal with the pain of self-reflection or emotional growth. For you, this means that you often feel bad about what you did and wonder if you did something wrong. But the real problem is that the narcissists can't take responsibility for their actions. It was very helpful to watch and listen to this movie about narcissistic behavior and how it can hurt relationships. If you've been with a narcissist, I hope this information helps you see how they get what they want and gives you a better idea of what you've been going through. You should always remember that you don't have to take credit for things that aren't your fault. You deserve to be treated with respect, honesty, and mental maturity, and you should look for those traits in everyone you date. If this movie spoke to you and helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone else who could use these insights. Remember that you are not the only one going through this. If you have a narcissist in your life, assistance is available, and you don't need to stay in a bad situation. You can get away from them and start to heal if you have the right tools and help. Thank you again for watching, and remember that you deserve relationships that are healthy, satisfying, and emotionally supportive. These relationships should also respect your limits and care for your well-being.